Welcome everybody. Today I am reading Am I the Devil? This is my favourite subreddit. As soon as I see one of the Reddit story YouTubers that I like reading, as soon as I see that it's an Am I the Devil, I have to watch it. So I thought I would make my own video. Right, first story we have. Am I the a-hole for feeling offended when a girl covered her drink while talking to me? I'm not the most social person, neither am I the nicest guy, but I've been trying to get better at talking to people instead of just sticking to those close to me. There was a cute girl standing by herself, so I went up, said hey, introduced myself, just normal conversation stuff. Not long after I started talking, she took out one of those drink covers, the one with the little hole for the straw, and put it on her cup. She didn't say anything, but it felt pointed, I guess. Like, I know the whole thing is about people being careful with their drinks, but the timing made me feel like it was because of me. It kind of threw me off, so I didn't stay long. I just ended the convo after a minute and went to talk to somebody else. I assumed she wasn't really comfortable, and I didn't want to make it awkward. Later, she came up to me and asked why I just dipped like that. I said I didn't think she wanted to talk, especially after she covered her drink right when I walked up. She got kind of annoyed and said it wasn't about me and that I made it weird by leaving. That's the part that's confusing me. If it wasn't about me, fine, but at the same time, it felt like a pretty clear signal and a slap in the face, so I backed off. Now I feel like it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Am I the a-hole? And then there's a small edit. A lot of people are focused on me saying I was offended or I felt like it was a slap in the face. That was a poor choice of words on my part. I wasn't upset at her protecting herself. It was more that I felt awkward and like I must have made her uncomfortable. So I took it as a cue to back off. I understand why women take those precautions, and I'm not judging her for it. This is to avoid having to make the same clarifications over and over in the comments. Alright. My opinion on this is you're absolutely the a-hole. That's obvious because you're in Am I the Devil. But let's start off with the first sentence. Not the most social person, neither am I the nicest guy. Why would you say that? You're automatically making us think, you're a jerk. And number two, my second opinion is, she has every right to cover her drink whenever she wants to. How does he know that she hadn't just been given the drink before he walked up? So it was a case of her putting the cover on straight away. It wasn't a case of, oh, this guy's walking up to me, I better put the cover on. And plus, there are people around you. Chances of it being the person who you're talking to and can see putting a drug in your drink are just as high as if somebody from standing behind her was to do it. She's not looking at them, so covering her drink makes her safe from every direction. The fact that he took it so personally says much more about him than it does about her. But let's see what the comments got to say. You the a-hole. She didn't know anything about you. Good for her for having the confidence to take the precaution. Your reaction is a huge red flag. Yep. You the a-hole, dude. Women take precautions for their safety. If you have a problem with this, you might be the danger. You the a-hole. That's a huge red flag. She wasn't just covering it for you, she was covering it in case someone snuck up while she was distracted by speaking to you. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. You know you wouldn't do anything sinister, but she doesn't know that you wouldn't. And the fact that you feel offended by a girl protecting herself from potential predators' behaviour is unsettling. Yeah, I completely agree. Alright, let's read this one last comment and then we'll move on to the next story. You the a-hole, but I'm going to explain why. As another guy myself, so that way this is a learning experience, the reason you got offended is because in your mind you know you aren't the kind of guy who would do that. She doesn't know that though. And the really important thing to zero in on here is that the kind of guy who would do an act like that is exactly the guy who wouldn't in that situation. In a situation like this, the only smart thing to do is take the same precaution every time. She's right to cover her drink and nothing to do with you. It has to do with the action. She wasn't suggesting that you were going to do it, but rather trying to communicate that she is the type of person to prepare herself against such an attack. And you responded to that preparedness with anger. You took it personally, you made it about you, instead of acknowledging that this is a perfectly reasonable precaution for a woman to take in a bar. By reacting the way you did, You at the very least made yourself seem like the kind of guy who would get into. But, not all men debate with women. She doesn't want to deal with that. And at worst, you made her and everyone around in this situation think that your intention genuinely was to slip something into her drink. She probably thinks you protest too much. She probably thinks you got caught in the act. Yeah, that's exactly right. Right, next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter to stop using period products in the bathroom she shares with my teenage sons? Off the bat, I'm going to say you are absolutely the a-hole. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and read his story. I have been living with my new wife and stepdaughter for about 6 months now. She's 19, almost 20. And I have 3 sons, 18, 16 and 15. She's a really good kid and she's a good influence on my sons. I really enjoy having her around. My wife and her daughter moved into my house and sold theirs. My stepdaughter's father isn't present in her life, nor is my son's mother. All 4 children share a bathroom. Maneki! Stop knocking on the freezer. Don't argue. That's going to show up in my recording. I don't know if you guys can hear that. She's just tippy-tapping on the freezer with her front feet. And I don't know why. Okay, I think she stopped. Right. My sons have never lived for a long period of time with a woman, nor have any of them had long-term girlfriends. They had short visitation periods. Maneki! They had short visitation periods when they were younger, but never longer than an hour. So living with 2 women has been unusual for them. My eldest son, 18, came to me last week and told me that his stepsister disposes of her used sanitary products in the trash can that they share, but doesn't use toilet roll or sandwich bag to disguise what they are, and it makes him uncomfortable, which I think is reasonable. My sons are teenage boys and don't want to see their stepsister's period products on full display. A few nights ago, I went to the kitchen to grab a snack, and she was there doing some work for university. My wife had mentioned that she knew she was on her period, so I took the opportunity to have a word. I told her my sons were uncomfortable and asked if she'd mind putting her used products in diaper bags or flushing them down the toilet. She laughed and told me that was rich coming from a man who sheds like a gorilla and has produced 3 skid-marking sons, which I thought was an unnecessary attack. I've been nothing but nice to this girl, and it's hardly a comparison. My sons shouldn't be subjected to her unhygienic products if it makes them uncomfortable. She went on to lecture me about how tampons can't be flushed and it's bad for the environment if she uses diaper bags for everyone, which I just think was an excuse. I called her a scruff and told her this was my house and what I say goes. Oof. I later asked my wife if she could have a word with her, and she told me I was being ridiculous and that my daughter has had her period for 10 years and knows exactly what she's doing. When I told her she was making my sons uncomfortable, she said my sons needed to get a grip and turned over and went to sleep. This is a genuine issue to me, and she didn't care enough to have a discussion about it. I asked my stepdaughter again in the morning, and she did the same as her mother. She completely dismissed it. Both of them told me to stop being silly, but I don't see how I'm being unreasonable when it makes my sons uncomfortable. Am I the a-hole? Yes. Anyway, update. Not even 2 hours after I posted this, my wife and stepdaughter gathered my sons and I and gave us a full, intensive period for pricks course. PowerPoint and all. It was a hoot. They made an interactive quiz and everything. My sons and I learned a lot, and I apologise to my stepdaughter. Thank you all for your input. Okay, so I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they did the whole PowerPoint presentation. That sounds fun. But there are a couple of comments in here I'm not comfortable with. There's the whole, I called her a scruff and told her this was my house and what I say goes. That's a dick move. We know the whole period thing is a complete dick move, but I don't like that comment. That's a power play that did not have to be said and would have made her feel like she wasn't welcome in their home, having only lived there for 6 months. So yeah, you're an a-hole. Let's see what the comments have to say. You the a-hole. Sorry, but what? I'm a guy and I realise this is ridiculous. You need to help yourself and your sons become better men and accept this is a natural process. Are you uncomfortable with your wife's use of the same? I assume not, so teach your sons better. Well said. There's another comment. I wrap my pads in the packaging and then wrap them in toilet roll, so no blood is visible at all. My brother, 17, has never complained about it. OP sons need to get a grip if they plan on having serious girlfriends in the future. Yep, I'm going to say that immaturity about this probably gives a telling reason as to why even his 18-year-old son has not had a long-term relationship yet. Most teens are in a relationship of some sort, but if they are this immature about periods, what else are they immature about? UDA Hell OP, as a female, I am appalled. Teach your sons better. My boyfriend is appalled too and thinks UDA Hell for not teaching your sons not to snoop through the trash can. That's a good point. Not sure I agree about the relationship thing. I don't think there isn't anything wrong with having not had a serious relationship by 18. That seemed a little judgmental, but I get where they were coming from. Right, before we get into story 3, I would appreciate it if you guys could like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff to help my channel get into the algorithm so I can get to my 1,000 subscribers, which is my aim for a very short period of time. I'm hoping by the end of September, but I don't think that's doable at this rate. But if you guys can kick into action and help me out, I would appreciate it so much. Anyway, back to Am I the Devil? Am I the a-hole for using someone else's social security number at a casino because they're on a lower tax bracket? Oh, absolutely. Is that not fraud? Okay, this could be quite serious. Anyway, let's see. Hi, Reddit. I need some objective opinions on a situation I recently found myself in. For context, I'm a 35-year-old individual who enjoys gambling at a casino. Recently, I had a particularly good night and won a significant amount of money. As many of you might know, large winnings are subject to taxes, which can be a bummer. Now, I have a friend, let's call him Dave, 30 male, who is in a much lower tax bracket than I am. Dave has always been pretty laid back about financial matters, and is always telling me he doesn't mind doing whatever to help a friend out. So in a moment of genius, I thought, why not use Dave's social security number to report the winnings? This way, less goes to taxes and more stays in our pockets. Dave was cool with it when I asked him, but maybe I just assumed he was because he didn't seem to care much. Anyway, I went ahead and used his social security number on the tax form. Fast forward a few weeks and Dave started freaking out because he got some IRS notices about the winnings. Now, he's been more anxious about that than I expected, and he's saying I should never involved him in the first place. He's worried it might have messed up his financial situation for future tax filings. I tried to explain to him that I thought it wouldn't be a big deal since it saves us both money in the end, but he's not seeing it that way and feels betrayed. When I told a few of our other friends about it, opinions were divided. Some sided with Dave and others thought it was a genius move. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for using Dave's social security number to reduce tax on my casino winnings? Absolutely. For a start, you're both really stupid. Because that's tax fraud, right? Am I missing? Because obviously I'm in the UK, but we have national insurance numbers rather than social security numbers, which is the same thing. If I'd done this on somebody else's national insurance number, that would be the same problem. So yeah, absolutely the a-hole. What a stupid move, because you've also messed up Dave's tax for the entire financial year, I would assume, because that puts his tax bracket up, which means he pays more tax. Are you compensating him for that? Like giving him the year's worth of tax increase back? Which is irrelevant. You both committed fraud. It was stupid. Anyway, let's see if the comments agree. You the a-hole for using someone else's social security number, period. And you should be aware you've committed a felony. Oh, that's even worse than I thought. It's a felony. But yeah, using it, period. Stupid. You the a-hole. Not only are you the arsehole, you are a criminal. So is your friend. You both committed fraud in order to avoid paying taxes. Yeah, that's bad. It's bad. You the a-hole for the stupid act itself. And you've not explained how your move saves both of us money in the end. Yeah, because he kept saying saves us money when it's his winnings. Did you give Dave money to cover the additional taxes he will pay on any other income he has after your winnings pushed him into a higher tax bracket? Yep. And money to cover the risk he has taken on by involving himself in a felony. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, that's it for Am I the Devil and this episode of Hozy. I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully I'm improving. I think I've got better at the editing the videos. There'll still be improvements over time, but this is only video 3, I think, of Reddit and Hozy. So please bear with me. And if you've got any advice, please leave it in the comments on how I can improve, and I'll do my best to take them on board if it's possible for me to actually do so. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!